Welcome, everybody, to episode 1 of the Full Bean Show. I am going to be one of your co hosts today. My name is Ozzy. My second co host is going to be.
I'm David.
And the man behind all this equipment and making sure that this video comes to you is going to be Mr. Frankie.
Hey, how are you?
What a voice Frankie has.
You have very like audio book voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I write out my memoirs, you're going to record the audiobook for me. It's going to be Frankie.
Yeah, true.
I'm already ready for it.
Nice.
Anyways, getting a little off track here.
Yeah.
Let's get back on track.
Back on track?
Get it?
Yeah,
On
I
track.
like that.
That's good.
Well, you're probably asking yourself, what is the Full Bean Show? The Full Bean Show is going to be a motorsports show that is going to consist of racing debriefs that are going to be focused on.
Going to be focused on mainly F1 and Indy, but we're going to cover anything from pig racing to pod racing to drone racing.
Yeah, so any kind of form of racing. We
I
noticed
don't think human, though.
human racing.
I don't think so.
Mm.
We're not racist. Anyways.
Well, any form of racing we've seen here in the States that the racing has really grown into.
It's getting popular.
Yeah, it's getting, especially F1. F1 is growing here. If you notice, this year we have 3 races, and the year before that we had only 2, and the year before that we only had 1.
Well, let's go back to the beginning a little bit.
Okay.
Why are you an F1 fan? What made you an F1 fan?
That's a good question. So let me tell you what made me an F1 man. He likes to brag about that. So
it's just because I was right. It's that's as simple as that.
yeah. Well, yeah, he was right. Well, one day,
And I was denied that I was right at the beginning.
he was not denied. He was
All
not
right, all right.
denied.
Well, let's get that. Let's hear your take, and then we'll hear my take.
Okay, well, like David said, he's the one that brought me into F1. He's the one that told me about F1,
I like this.
and he basically told me, I think you would like this sport because it has a very like technical well, you don't need to know a lot of technical, but since like we like to talk about technical stuff,
Us three, just quickly, we're all aspiring engineers currently
Yeah.
going to school. So
yeah, true,
that kind of gave us an interesting insight on the sport.
exactly. So one day David told me, you should start watching F1. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So I started by picking a team.
And then proceeded to watch no races.
Yes, he's right. I picked a team, and then that's as far as it went. And then after that,
And then I think like a season or two, something like that.
I think like 2 seasons.
Yeah, like season or two, this little known show on Netflix called Drive to Survive comes out,
Little known shows.
and everyone becomes a fan, including this boy over here who had already told watch the sport.
Yeah. So David's right. So I started watching I'm pretty sure as a lot of Americans did, Drive to Survive.
Agreed, yeah.
And it was a pretty good show. I mean, look how successful that show was.
It's in
Literally,
season 6 now, 5.
I think 5.
Anyways, it's
Yeah, well, I mean, it was so successful now that it brought 3 races to the States.
yeah, we'll get to that.
So I started watching that. After I started watching Drive to Survive, I really got invested in, and now I watch every single race. And kind of how this show kind of got brought up now that we were like, okay, we like to talk a lot of F1 when we just start a podcast about F1.
Yeah, and where we are here in like the Los Angeles area, there's not, you don't run across, at least you used to.
yeah,
You used to not run across anyone who really knew about the sport, and every time you'd run across a sport, run across.
Let me put it right here. You would
say
say to someone, "Oh, do you watch F1?" I'm pretty sure a lot of people relate to this. The people who watch F1 before Drive to Survive or very close to it.
and obviously we're not like judging anyone who watched it before or after.
Yeah, no.
We're just fans of the sport. Anyone who's a fan, we get along with.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just we're not knocking on anyone.
Okay, but but when you would say to someone, "Oh, like yeah, I watch F1, the other person would be like, "Oh, what is that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's basically like
Just
racing
cars
car."
on
a track.
In a track.
So then that other person would say, "Oh, it's like NASCAR."
Yeah,
That's a very common thing that they would say.
although
right?
NASCAR, I mean, most
nothing
of the time,
against nothing against NASCAR.
I just went to my first NASCAR
Oh, really?
race.
And how did you like that?
It was interesting.
It was nice.
Qualifying was cool, but the race itself was a little boring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you went to like kind of a
It's a gimmick. I'll give them
Yeah.
that. The clash at the Coliseum is a gimmick.
yeah. So so that's basically how I got into
Well,
F1.
enough about you.
Okay.
Let's hear about the other two people on this show.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm hogging up too much
Yeah,
camera time.
you're taking it all.
What made you get
Yeah,
into?
that's what I'm waiting for.
F1
That
story.
question.
Yeah.
Let's make this back about me.
Okay. Gotcha.
The origins of this show. That's a little too much credit, but Anyways,
Well, David, how did you get into
I will
F1?
tell you, Ozzy.
Okay.
So I used to watch it as a kid with my dad. We'd get up, we'd watch it. And honestly, I don't know why, but we kind of fell off. We kind of stopped watching it. And like my early teenage years, things like that, my late like 10s, I guess you'd call them. I stopped watching it and kind of just fell off. And one day I'm sitting there watching one of, I think, our favorite TV shows, Top Gear.
Oh yeah, that's the GOAT.
Shout out Jeremy, James,
Richard.
I always forget his name.
Yeah, the guy who always crashes.
He's the full body cast.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm watching that show, and this little known racer, you may have heard of him by now, Australian, charismatic, Danny Ricciardo is on the show.
Yeah, he was the up and coming at that time.
Yeah, he's up and coming. He's
the future.
He's making his way, his name at Red Bull at the time. Yeah. And I just like the way that his enthusiasm, like the way he described the show, the way he described the sport, and I just enjoyed hearing him talk about the sport. And I was like, having kind of like the mindset that I do, and I knew that Ozzy did, was like of this like kind of engineering mindset, and additionally being a huge sports fan, I was like, hey, I think I should give this sport another go.
Is NASCAR a shot?
I mean, not NASCAR. And I had been going to Indy, the Long Beach Grand Prix here, our local Grand Prix, a lot, and I wasn't too into it. I mean, I liked it, but it just didn't call my attention yet. So I started watching the sport F1, and I just get into it. I get more into it. I see Lewis and Nico Rosberg just going at it. That season, like, really just hooks me.
That was a great season.
It just hooks me. So then I tell Ozzy over here, we've been friends for a long time, and I know how he thinks. I know the mindset. I know the things that he likes. We have similar like tastes in sports and things like that. So I was like, hey, you should give it a shot. And as he said, he blew me off.
That's not true.
Picks a team, blows me off.
That's not true.
And I keep telling him, I keep bugging him, watch the sport. And finally, as we said, Drive to Survive comes out, and all of a sudden he's a fan. Which, again, not knocking on those people. It's just he had the opportunity to watch it before that. That's all I'm saying.
I just didn't know how good F1 was.
All right. We'll give him that.
I didn't.
And that's kind of like my story with F1. And then as my interest grew in F1, just naturally my interest in the local racing that we have, that being Indy, just grew as well. It's still growing. Obviously, both interests are still growing, but the Indy has more room to grow, I guess.
Yeah.
We know less about Indy than we do about F1.
Yeah. Indy has a lot of areas where it can grow.
Yeah, and that's one of the goals of our show.
Exactly.
Is to grow. We saw the success that F1 now has due to Drive to Survive, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow Indy as well as continue and maintain the growth of F1.
I think that's very well said.
Yeah.
You just said.
Frankie, enough about us. Let's hear your take on the sport and how you got involved.
All right. So for F1, insane story. All right. So a few months ago, last year, 2022. Class is over. David and I started talking for a little bit, and he's like, Ozzy and I want to make a little podcast. You want to produce it? I'm like, yes. And that's my series.
There you have it.
Short
There you
and
have it.
sweet.
Short,
Yeah,
sweet, simple, straight to the point.
Yeah.
And
Nothing
that's
to-
kind of Frankie. Honestly, that's kind
Yeah.
of Frankie
No
in a
filler.
nutshell.
No
in a
filler.
nutshell, it's
Yeah.
just that's all. That's Frankie for you.
Yeah.
Back to black every single day.
Yep.
You'll hear us commenting on Frankie's outfits.
Oh yeah.
If he throws a splash of color in there,
That's a big
that's
deal.
going to be a talking point of that
Yeah,
day.
that's
Just don't be surprised when you hear that.
Yeah, exactly. So back to the full.
I mean, I
beans.
guess that's the show, really.
Yeah, exactly.
That-
I was
that's-
gonna just conclude a
All
little.
right, let's
about
go. Let's
what
hear it.
was
Let's hear
the
it.
full beans, like
All right, let's
David
go.
had
Full
said
beans.
it. So a full bean show, our goal is to make videos on race debriefs that are going to be on F1 and IndyCar, and hopefully on other motorsports.
The issue with other motorsports, it's hard for us to watch. As in,
Yes.
it's difficult for us to literally find where they're airing.
On TV.
Like on TV, on apps, on streaming. It's F1 was not as difficult. It is now easier to watch F1 now that like
way.
ESPN streams it and all that stuff. Before it was a little difficult. And there's other sports that we're interested in, but the problem is like Formula E, MotoGP, the endurance. It's just it's hard for us to find where to stream them.
Yeah, you can't just pop in Channel 7 and start watching it.
Yeah, so that's kind of like additionally our goal is to just keep growing like motorsports here, and yeah, just that's kind of the mission statement of Full Beans.
Full beans, yeah. So we just wanted to provide you guys a little intro of
And if you don't know what Full Beans means, look it up.
I think it's, yeah, look it up.
You
I
might
think
have
it's
to
all-
do some digging, but look it up.
Yeah,
It's
Well-
not nothing dirty or anything.
nah, I think you're good. Well, with that said, if anybody has anything else to say,
No, I think that's kind of it. This is Full Beans intro, just a background on who we are, why we're doing this show, and I mean that's it for this episode.
Yeah.
We will continue releasing episodes, hopefully weekly, on F1 and Indy separate episodes, so that if you're just perhaps you like F1 stuff only, you like Indy stuff only. You don't have to be, skipping around on episodes. And I guess that's kind of, I don't know if you have Ozzy, Frankie,
no, I think
anything to add?
I think I'm good. Hopefully you enjoyed our little intro video and enjoyed our little stories on F1, and hopefully it kind of relates to what you encounter here. And make sure you like and subscribe and comment on this video to see what else you guys want to watch.
Yeah, drop
You
us ideas, or if anyone knows where to watch these other racing series that,
Yeah,
we're
'cause-
talking about. Because like I said, it's kind of hard to watch it over here where we're located,
Exactly, yeah. So
legally at least.
yeah. So yeah, I think with that said,
I guess this is Full Beans intro signing out.
see you guys later.
Goodbye.